everybody. My name is Margaret Wallace, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Playmatics. I've been a game developer working in entertainment and healthcare for, oh my gosh, about 20 years. And I also work with a lot of founders and startups to help them be successful. I'm really delighted to be here today for this roundtable. We're really excited. The title of the roundtable is Social Tech for Youth Wellbeing, Meet the Entrepreneurs. And I'm here today with some amazing founders who are really innovating around the intersection of games and well-being for youth, because we really have seen how much it's needed now more than ever. So with that in mind, I want to welcome all the speakers here. And I was hoping that each of you could go around and spend a few minutes introducing yourselves, your company, sort of what you're working on, and what your perspective is in terms of our topic of social technology innovations and well-being. And with that in mind, who would like to kick off with the first intro?
I can start. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Oliveira Tamellini. I'm co-founder and CEO of GamerSafer. Our vision is to scale online safety to millions of players working with the games they are so passionate about. We know safety is especially important for young players, as games became one of the main channels for their socialization, learning, and entertainment. And the challenge we're addressing with our technology, we're discussing some of the festival panels, such as sexism, hate speech, racism, harassment, bullying, fake accounts, scams, bots, predators, and we use computer vision and AI technologies to verify and authenticate players before they join a match. And with that, we can eradicate some of the problems that I was describing before, such as child exploitation, and significantly minimize the other ones. We also try to understand players' preferences and usage patterns to support games to make what I call a more personalized matching. And I think just to give you a little context about myself, I've been working with social impact for many years. I had a B corporation, and I am a gamer and a mom of two passionate gamers. I've been testing different games, not only because GamerSafer, because I'm passionate about, new titles and everything. The last one that I was playing was Pharaoh from WildWorks. One of my sons play Warzone, and the other one is a passionate Clash of Clans player. I also serve a couple of organizations aligned with, this mission. So I'm an ambassador for women in games for the US. I'm also a board member for Latinas in Tech. And I serve as a co-chair of child safety for XR Safety Initiative. The founder presented at the festival 2 days ago. And I'm super happy and excited to share this panel with so many talents and entrepreneurs that I had the chance to meet at Headstream. Yeah.
Maria, I forgot to ask, and for all of the other participants, if you don't mind sharing one thing about yourself or about your company that people may not know.
Wow. Well, as a Brazilian, I love samba and bossa nova. I think this is a curiosity that I never had the chance to share with the others. And during COVID, I suddenly became more of a casual player. Like I really enjoy playing COVID fashion, and the other one design. It's related to design, houses, and so on. To relax a little bit on my mind, but yeah.
I can go next. First, thank you, Margaret, for having all of us in this session today. It's really great to have this opportunity to talk about the games we've all been working on and are so passionate about. My name is McCray. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of EquipT. EquipT is an educational and transformational game that teaches people about diversity, equity, and the lived experiences of people of different social identities. I've been working on this game with a beautiful group of friends and colleagues, and we're all in the diversity and inclusion space, and we're super passionate about having people understand more about social identity and how it affects people's lived experiences. And the reason why that's connected to health and well-being, it wasn't initially apparent to people, but I think in the middle of a pandemic, we all have incredible examples of how discriminatory practices negatively affect people's health outcomes. It's true for physical health. It's especially true for mental health. And I hope that this game can be a part of the positive change that the world really needs in helping people understand that. EquipT is interactive. It's supposed to be a scalable learning opportunity for people. We understand that so many people, especially again in this moment, in the national conversation that we're all having, this moment of reckoning around racial injustice that our country is having, so many people are looking for a place to go to learn. It's not taught in schools for the most part. It's unless you were, an ethnic studies major, there's many people have never learned. There's these 2-hour onboarding sessions that many companies provide, or freshman orientation, but outside of that, so many people never get formal education around these concepts that are so important to our society. And so when our team came together, we realized a scalable learning solution was absolutely needed in the world. And that's actually part of the fun fact of our game, is the 6 of us working on it all met and got to know each other through our experience in higher education. So we all have some connection to Cornell University and lived in Ithaca, and all of us have since relocated to the Bay Area. So we've traveled 3,000 miles together. We're on this grand adventure and excited about what's to come for our game. Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I can go next if you want. This is the problem, 5 girls, or women, why are we being so nervous? If I feel like I can be stereotyping and say if a guy was in the room, he'd be the first to speak. So I'm going to start talking. So my name is Aimée-Louise Carton. I'm the co-founder of a little wellness app called KeepAppy. So our story actually began, unfortunately, with my suicide attempt just 2 years ago. And I just grew so angry. And I think this is what happens with most social change, that there's this turning point, whether it's at the individual level or at the community level, like we're seeing right now, where this anger spurs on innovation and action and change. And I realized I needed to create something that made mental health tools accessible for all, that made generalized mental health tools as accessible as gyms or generalized fitness tools are accessible to all. And more than that, I was struck by this need, along with my amazing co-founder. The 2 of us were so driven by this need to make it fun, because we realized that mental health tools, the proactive ones, come across as just so boring. They're always perceived as a chore. They're seen as just burdensome, and they're always the first thing we drop when we get stressed or when we get low mood. And when we started creating this app, we realized that we wanted to create something that was practical, that worked for everyone, just like going into a gym can work for so many people, no matter your ability or your level. And more than that, we wanted to make it really fun. And that was kind of the starting point of KeepAppy. And I met all of these amazing women on the panel today through an amazing innovation accelerator called Headstream. I'm sure we're going to talk about it loads today because it's absolutely amazing. And it's through that we've had such potential and amazing opportunities for growth. So yeah, that's me. Oh, and something random. I'm going to be talking a lot about my dog today because she's been the real cornerstone for our games development. But she's Instagram famous. She has like 7,000 followers, and she's honestly just the biggest diva ever. She's so beautiful, and she knows it. So that's the random fact about me or our journey.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I gotta go follow your dog. Hi, everybody. I'm Vanessa Gill. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Social Cypher, and we build empowering video games for autistic youth. And the reason that I started, kind of hopping off what Aimée-Louise's origin story, is that I started Social Cypher because when I was a teenager, around 14 years old, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and for a long time, I was really ashamed of that diagnosis. I actually kept it a secret for over 6 years. I really just closed myself off to people because there were so many stereotypes that were negative that were surrounding an autism diagnosis, especially as a woman. And I really just thought that I was broken, something was wrong with me, and that I would never be able to connect with people. So that's kind of how I stayed, and I really shut myself off to others. And that was not a good decision, because then I developed a lot of mental health issues with anxiety and depression and low self-esteem. And it wasn't until I realized that I did have the potential to connect with other people, that I just had to do it in a way that I found comfortable and that I was really passionate about. In this case, for me, it was really through music and movies and games, to really find my way back and realize that I was accepted and loved and supported, and very well do that in return. Yeah, and so after a couple of years of research in neuroscience, I realized that I could kind of put this expertise together along with my own lived experience and build Social Cypher. And so I founded it with 4 of my closest friends, and we've been going strong ever since. We really want to give autistic youth a safe and accessible space to apply and understand social emotional skills, and to do that through the magic of gameplay and story and representation. So, you know, our first game that we've been creating that is actually out for launch in October. It's our first episode of a series called Ava. So Ava follows the adventures of an autistic protagonist. She's a star mapper, she's brilliant, and she really just goes out and goes on this journey to find her own community, to battle her own self-doubt, and to help out with a lot of social situations with some space pirates. It's a really fun time. And yeah, I guess going with a weird or random thing about myself, one of my favorite hobbies is actually to design escape rooms in haunted houses for people. And I am trying to find out ways to virtually do that now. So yeah, that's for me.
Awesome. Ty, did you want to add one random thing about yourself to the mix?
I know my fun fact wasn't cool enough, so thank you for the second chance.
Oh.
The fun fact I like to share is I love watching the Great British Baking Show. It's the way I de-stress after thinking about diversity and social justice all day. And even though it's one of my favorite shows, I am not a baker.
I love that show too, I will admit. So what I was thinking of doing is I was going to kick off the initial question for Amy, but I definitely want to open this question up to everyone else in the group, as with all of the questions I'm asking. So Amy, thank you for sharing the story about how you've come into this world of youth well-being and creating these exciting and innovative social technologies. Can you please describe for us how, since this is a topic about well-being, how do you define mental health and well-being, especially in the context of your work and in your daily practice? And if anyone else wants to add to this discussion, please feel free to.
Yeah, so this is something that I adore talking about, because I think it really shows the stigma around all the topics that we're going to be talking about today. This word mental, I'm from Ireland, and we actually had one of the highest proportions of people who were institutionalized due to demon possession, otherwise known as mental illnesses, throughout the 18th and 19th century. So it's so interesting when we talk about this term because it's so stigmatized, but really, just like we all have physical health, and 1 in 5 people may have a physical illness, we all have this thing called mental health or well-being. We all have this concept of highs and lows and stresses before deadlines or waking up on the wrong side of the bed. And it's something that I always seek to talk about, because we need to be clear that we all do have mental health. 1 in 4 may have a mental illness, but we all have mental health. And opening up the conversation means that we can't be scared of using the right terms. So when we talk about youth well-being or mental well-being, really, we need to be confident with the fact that mental health is a really core element of this conversation, and the proactive tools for mental health are equally important to be discussed, because sometimes when we Google the word mental illness or mental health, the image that comes up is this girl crying in a dark corner, or, you know, tears falling down someone's face. And when you look up physical health, it's often someone in like super tight clothing in a gym looking really fit and happy. And, you know, we have to start making mental health sexy. We have to start making it the positives as well as the negatives. We have all been that girl in the room crying, or that boy in the room. But, you know, we can be positive and happy as well. So it's finding that balance and talking about both sides that is really important at the start of any conversations like this.
Anyone else want to add to that? Okay. And then in terms of your work, Aimee, what are some of the ways that you embed that sort of principle understanding into some of your product decisions?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, KeepAppy, we describe it as the gym for your mental health. So it's a wellness toolkit with 10 different types of features to empower users to take control of their mental health, whether it's a vital tracker, so a mood tracker, or gratitude diary or journaling. And we decided from the very early on that this couldn't have a voice or a narrative. Our company couldn't have this, oh, poor you, or a very clinical approach. We do have clinical backing and understanding behind all of our features, but we needed it to be on the same level as the individuals using the app. It had to be peer-to-peer. It had to be engaging and fun and willing to accept everyone, no matter what standard they're at. So this voice of acceptance is just so integral when we talk about mental health, because like I said, we all have the good and bad days. So it's about accepting and acknowledging that, and then empowering people and showing them that happiness is sexy and that, you know, you can achieve it. So that's kind of what we did with KeepAppy, and we turned it into an app.
Awesome. And Ty, what I read a bunch of your interviews and watched you on video talking about all of the work that you've done around education on this front. And I noticed that you spoke a lot about micro-learning opportunities, and that with what you're building and in your work that you really focus on building that into your product to show people how to live, work, and build relationships with people of all identities. So can you please talk to us more about how you approach micro-learning opportunities? What might be some examples, and how do you put that all together and measure it and stuff like that?
That's a great question. So I come to this work after spending 11 years in higher ed. And so the foundation of my work is really through education. And one thing I notice about how people learn is microdoses over time is one of the best ways for people to learn. Another great way for people to learn is by having fun. Equity, social justice, these are huge concepts that many people find overwhelming. They often don't associate them with anything fun. It's a little intimidating. And so we thought, what could be enjoyable and what could be quick that kept people engaged over a long period of time. And so the key to learning and deeper learning is sustained engagement. And that's really how we thought of creating this game, EquipT. And so the way the game works is people, there are 3 characters at the moment, but there are characters all who have different social identities. And what a social identity is: race and ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status. Those are examples of social identities. And you get to understand how these characters experience different life events through the lens of their identity. And that was a micro learning that we wanted to convey that people don't understand. So I identify as a Black woman. I am also able-bodied. And how I move through the world and how I experience things is different because of those identities. And we think the more people can understand that their life experience is not universal, the better we can create changes that are really needed. So that's one of the micro learnings. And so the game is intended to allow people to have these short doses. We originally thought about people playing on their morning commute. And now that morning commutes aren't really a thing anymore, we just thought that people could still play in quick 10-minute doses. And we wanted just to break down this intimidating concept into smaller pieces.
I think it's really meaningful that games give us the sort of sandbox to allow people to experience a world or reality or what have you from different perspectives and identities. And I can see how that is really beneficial.
Yeah, the other reason we thought that a game would be a good space for this is because this is an area and a topic where people have a lot of fear. And so there aren't a lot of spaces where they want to publicly fall on their face or to ask questions. And so we thought a game could be a private container to learn about things that people are still a little uncomfortable with. And so the game actually includes decision making, so people can practice understanding like what decisions can be made in this moment. There's also strategies embedded within the game, and we just wanted people to have a practice area. There's a thing that people used to always ask me. They're like, I'm afraid of getting it wrong. I'm afraid I'm going to do or say the wrong thing. And I always tell people, you know what, you likely will. But we also hope that games and other educational experiences reduce the likelihood. I tell everyone we're all on our own journeys. It's a constant process of self-correction, iteration, learning, and reflection. But we wanted to help eliminate some of those fears.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I can't wait to hear more about that as we continue the discussion. And so Maria, so at GamerSafer, you're approaching youth well-being online and within the context of gaming in a unique way by offering essentially a digital identity and for players and various mechanisms in place around managing digital identities and then also being matched with other players. I think what you're working on is really innovative. Can you share with the audience some of the technology innovations you're focusing on to address issues of youth well-being?
Yeah, so when we were talking about our innovation, I always like to bring the question we make ourselves when we're deciding the places we're gonna hang out, right? What are the most important things when we're deciding offline or online the place you wanna be and have fun and meet new people? And usually safety is one of the answers. And we interviewed many gamers, families, parents from all ages. And safety is there as one of their main concerns. And we at GamerSafer, we kind of embraced that. So we believe that safety is a precondition to promote online well-being. And what we are doing with our innovation, we are delivering safety protocols tailor-made to each player to customize and protect his or her player experience in less than 1 second, because we use a lot of technology to do that. And by combining biometric data with user insights, we understand how youth players like to interact, their game preferences, their usage patterns, and we help games manage them, mainly optimizing matching and moderation. With more user context, they can optimize also the data they have around that user and provide experience that is not only safer, but more personalized to that user. And I think that can boost the positive aspects of gaming. That's the core principles behind our technology.
Very fascinating the way you're combining all this different know-how. And Vanessa, I know that you've spoken a lot about how games can provide a common ground for shared experiences and also enhancing in communication. So in terms of your work, how are you finding this being done in terms of whether it's a parent or a guardian or friends sort of communicating in the context of a game, or even therapists or counselors?
There we go. Yeah, so I love talking about this because there is so much innovation in that we have just seen through a lot of our interviews and our focus groups with so many parents, teachers, counselors, autistic adults and youth of just the many, many ways that they have learned. So for example, we have a fantastic therapist on our team. His name is Chris. And the reason that we just absolutely love working with him is that, you know, from the first time we interviewed him about Social Cypher, he had already been using games in his practice for ages. So he uses card games for mindfulness and connection. He's used like Tetris for just being more aware of the world around you and reasoning. He will use like side scroller co-op games in order to help his clients better understand collaboration and just being able to work together in ways that are sometimes frustrating, right? And so just seeing that, or, you know, talking to parents or even youth about how they have used things like movies and TV shows and taken things from that to really apply to their own lives and their own social situations. It's been super, super cool to see. And I think even for my own experience, it was just really important for me to have learned through stories. It was never really about like categories or, you know, certain rules in a rule book. It was about, all right, what did this character do in this story or in this show or in this game? And how does that apply to my life? And it's just much easier to remember. And I think another thing that's really important is for autistic youth, it's just games are an especially safe place. It's this place where you can be whoever you want to be and really just be able to try things out without fear of judgment or rejection, kind of touching on what Ty was saying about, you know, it's a place where you can kind of practice and gain this confidence and build your abilities to really do this in real life and apply this. So yeah, it's been a really special experience seeing that. And I think that with Social Cypher and a lot of the narratives we use, as well as autistic representation through our characters, I think we can take that further. So yeah.
I hope we can dig into some of that later in the discussion, because I think Ava, the character Ava, is just an amazing, wonderful character. And I guess some of the ways we've all met each other in this discussion is through the Headstream organization, and you're all Headstream innovators. I've been fortunate enough to have been working with Headstream a little bit, sort of on a mentorship level, which has been really an amazing experience. But we all know as entrepreneurs, we have to wear many hats, right? You know, sometimes we're chief legal person or chief designer. We just do a lot, right? And I know that Headstream offers a lot of different resources and access, and whether it's help with play testing or design or business sort of resources. Can each of you describe sort of what it's been like for you being part of Headstream? I know one thing that I find that we've all discussed that we find innovative about Headstream is the way they integrate youth into various programs and initiatives. I think it's really unique and special. So maybe if you don't mind, each of you spending a little bit of time talking about Headstream and where you've really gotten a lot of value and maybe put some value back in as well.
Yeah, I'll kick us off. There are so many things that were remarkable about connecting with Headstream and being a part of the program, but 3 things really stand out. And the first one is validation. So the group of us had, you know, this idea. We've been working on it a little bit over 18 months before we came to Headstream, and they were the first group to validate us by giving us funding for it. And so we're like, okay, this is a real thing that someone believes in. And that was just really empowering. The second thing was Headstream connected us to amazing people across the industry that it just would have been so much harder to connect to. So that's how I met you, Margaret, when I wanted to talk to other CEOs of game development companies and understand like how to partner with game development companies. And so that's been amazing. And then the last thing that helped at Headstream really solidified was involving youth. So there's this concept, nothing for us without us. And so we're making a game that is targeted towards, for us, it's really people for about 16, starting at about age 16. And that's where a lot of social identity questions are coming up. And so they really encouraged us to make the youth a part of the game development process. So Headstream has been amazing. It's how I met, you know, the rest of the roundtable here, but those two things stand out.
She basically said it all. Well, let me add a couple of more things because I was part of Accelerator before joining, actually incubator before joining Headstream. And, you know, as startup founders, we keep hearing about, you know, you need to do things fast, you need to scale, you need to do all those, you know, user testing in this time frame, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, life is hard. We work a lot. But Headstream has a human touch that I think it makes a difference, especially right now we are going through this pandemic. So it's also a program that look for us as human beings and take care of, you know, our well-being, how we are. And I think that combination is where the world and the business world should go toward to. And that's totally, you know, important at this point, especially for me. I've been juggling with 3 kids at home and a startup that is basically another kid that needs a lot of attention and investments, right? So this is being really important. And another thing that as entrepreneurs, it's crucial to our growth, it's find community. So if we are connected to like-minded entrepreneurs and where we can share experiences, where we can share our struggles, our wins, I think we can advance faster in our journey. And Headstream also provides that. And yeah, I'm super happy to have this, you know, opportunity.
Okay, Vanessa, were you going to?
Yeah, I guess I can talk a little more on that. Yeah, I feel like Ty Maria really just summed it all up. But I think that the really valuable thing for me especially has been just the community. I think all of us are just, I have just never found a group that is just so incredibly invested in the mental health and well-being of young people. And I think all of us have had, you know, some sort of personal experience where we are all truly, truly invested in this. And I think being able to bring all of us into a room to discuss our innovations with that passion and that investment has been just so, I mean, validating for sure. And also just like, I don't know, it just makes you feel like, all right, this is a valid issue. This is something that needs to be worked on, and I think together we're gonna do it, all in our respective areas. And yeah, it's just good to have other people that really share that passion.
It's so weird or amazing to hear all of you guys say, like, literally everything you've said I agree with. And I think anyone who's listening to this roundtable, like, if you can, check out Headstream, check out Second Muse, look at what they're doing. They're literally, like, there's 3 of us or 4 of us, I think, who are non-American based startups. And it's been amazing because America is the center and the lead of mental health. So I know you guys are very critical of it, or people are very critical of the mental health supports in America, but it's so amazing to see people who are, it's exactly what you said, Vanessa, like, who are part of the same mission, who support you as real people, who validate you, who lift you, who are there every step of this crazy startup journey. And it really, like, we could, like, I'm sure all 4 or 5 of us here could spend the next like half hour basically talking about Headstream, because it really is worth checking out. But I think if anyone is listening to this roundtable, just look at for yourself and just see what they do. It's incredible.
And I totally forgot to mention, Margaret, that you are one of the greatest things that happened in this program for me. So yeah, thank you.
Wow, you're going to make me cry. But thank you. And I just wanted to check with everyone in terms of which platforms you're developing for. Are you mostly focused on mobile, web, tablet? Is there XR, or what are your target platforms?
Well, our product is cross-platform, PC, mobile, and consoles.
We're mobile only, but we have AR gamification, so that's why it has to be AR really. But we are looking at integrating onto web platforms for kind of more community-based stuff.
We're currently Mac and PC and looking to port to the Nintendo Switch.
We'll be mobile and web platforms.
That's awesome. And so Aimée, again, we're all founders. We've got a lot going on. What's the horizon looking like for you and your company in the next 6 to 12 months? So what's your big focus? What are some of the things you're focused on? What are some of your impact goals that you're targeting that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, for sure. So for us, like most of the people here, actually, I know Vanessa is going to start fundraising soon. We are looking to close our seed round by the end of 2020, so it's a very exciting time for us. But we actually have just launched in the last 2 months our gamification. So our game is basically Tamagotchi with a twist. So basically, I'm not sure if anyone here remembers Tamagotchi, but what we did was we integrated this little digital puppy. It's an AR-based puppy that exists on your phone. And every time you interact with any of the positive psychology tools, the proactive mental health tools on the app, you gain points, and you can use those points to care for and look after your keepy. So these little puppies exist. You can name with them, you play with them, you can throw the ball, feed it, cuddle it. It's really cute. And we're basically launching the version 1 version of the app with the gamification integrated. So that's kind of the next like 6 months for us. And then after that, it's really just about expanding. We're already in 100 countries now. So it's been a really exciting time for us. So it's really just about growing and really starting to get people to know about us. And that's kind of our mission for the next 12 months. In terms of impact, everyone who buys a subscription to the app, we donate a lifetime membership to someone who's struggling with their mental health. And we've actually been able to work with different organizations and helplines across 3 continents, from North America to Australia. So it's been really fun being able to connect with these amazing community focused, like really being able to see the work we're doing and creating impact there. So that's been really amazing.
Jump in. My first job in the video game industry was working on virtual pets, and it was my favorite, one of the favorite things I've ever done. So pardon me.
They're great.
Would anyone else like to, I was hoping everyone could share sort of the same answer to that question, please.
So we're earlier in our journey, and so we'll have a game that everyone can play probably by early fall, maybe mid-fall. So, and it's so interesting how over the time that we've worked with Headstream, how like our idea has matured and evolved, and really just the level of sophistication that's there is quite incredible to watch. So we're in the development process now. We're also in the fundraising stage too, the never-ending fundraising stage.
Yes. Yeah. Is everybody in that process here, the fundraising?
Yeah. For sure. I can go next. So yeah, I think that our Social Cypher team has been expanding lately, and we have, with the help of both the Headstream Accelerator and the AT&T Aspire Accelerator, just made a lot of really awesome progress. Yeah, and I'm also really excited to announce that we're on track right now to release our first episode of Ava in October. We're really looking to work with autism service providers, counselors, and schools. And we're starting a couple pilots the next few months. Other thing that we're doing is we are developing a companion app for Ava. So especially with everything with the global pandemic, we've realized that sharing these experiences and being able to do it remotely is more important than ever. So one thing that's in development for us is a way for educators and counselors to play Ava remotely with their clients and students, as well as track and understand data and get talking points for experiences within the game in real time. So that's one thing we're developing, and that we're looking to our fundraising round to really help us grow and really meet its potential. So yeah.
Awesome. And, we are talking about youth and well-being, and I just wanted to see if anyone had any advice for other founders and entrepreneurs regarding sort of what to look out for, or some kind of key lesson that maybe you feel like you've learned or that you've taught others. Is there anything that you could share with the audience who's thinking of becoming a founder or already is in the early stages of a startup?
Yeah, I can go. So the thing is, if you are interested in becoming an entrepreneur, or you have an idea and you're thinking about something, talk to as many people as possible. Like, just go for it. The worst they can do is say no. Like, ask every single person you know for coffee, and constantly tell everyone about the different things you're exploring, your idea. Like, one of the core features on our app, the gratitude diary, I didn't believe in them until I was talking to someone on Bumble, and then they try this thing called a gratitude diary, and I was like, no, they're kind of nonsense psychology, it's not real. And it was then that I brought it to our psychologists and found out how beneficial they can be. And then the second thing is, if you're interested in working with or having a youth-based focus, we typically go for older teens, so it's kind of 15 and above. You need to not treat them like children. Like, they don't want the cartoons, and they're going to tell you really quickly that they don't want the childish cartoons. They want to be taken seriously and treated like real people, and you have to communicate with them and talk to them and really understand what they want from you, and that means you have to get down to their level and just have an open conversation. So yeah, that's kind of the main message, is just communicate and talk to people about your idea.
Yeah, another thing that I believe was crucial for me is realize who are you serving and how you're helping the people you're serving to solve, some needs or problems, or how you're meeting their expectations. So I'm a giver in a personal level. So my entrepreneurship journey has been mostly connecting that giver behavior kind of to my customers and also to my users, because in the end of the day, I'm selling to gaming companies and they are serving players with our service, right? So in both ends, we need to understand the problems both ends are facing and how we are solving those problems in very unique ways. And that understanding is critical, because sometimes we have amazing ideas, but we end not solving their problems or the way they're expecting to solve their problems. And another thing that I think it's important, because when you're having an idea and we're sharing that idea with the world, it can be, there is a lot of fear and anxiety around that. And if you're like feeling those things, it's because you're dreaming big many times. So if something is too comfortable, maybe you're not dreaming that big. So just, embrace that, because, you are the one, to solve that problem, to make a change for those group of people.
That was really powerful, Maria. What I would recommend to people who are looking to get into this space is, one, build community. So that really echoes what Aimée-Louise said. The community is really supportive. Another thing I'll add is to abandon this idea of perfection. And so sometimes you think you're going to just isolate yourself, come up with something brilliant and amazing, and reveal it to the world. And it just doesn't work that way. We all use services and products that are not perfect, that are works in progress. And so I really encourage people that if there's an idea you have, get started. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be perfect, but get started and keep putting one foot in front of the other, because there's so many things that, you know, the world still needs. So I hope everyone's encouraged to move forward.
Yeah, that's really excellent advice. And I just wanted to point out to the members in our audience that pretty soon we're going to be taking questions. So if you have a question, please feel free to enter that into the chat window, and we will take those questions as they come up. And so I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. And if any of you wonderful speakers see anything that I'm missing, please feel free to point that out. And I guess I just have a general question, whoever wants to take this. What's one, you know, we already talked about the gratitude diaries and some other features. What's one aspect of what you're working on in terms of your product that you're excited about or that you think people should know, that just comes to mind?
Okay, so I guess there are two things. One of them is just for fun, and the other one is just something we really believe in. So one of them is that if you go to our website, you can see that Ava has this furry companion, and his name is Pud. He is a cross between a corgi and a llama. That's what my team will argue with you about what hybrid it is, but that is what I believe. And he's adorable. The second thing that's a little more relevant to the product itself and what we're excited about is that we actually, through listening to our users, which is honestly my biggest advice, just always listen to your users and don't have an idea and try to just fit it to that, like use what they're saying and build on that. But I think that what we're really excited about is this concept of quiet spaces. So in a traditional game, you know, there are respawn points, there are places where you can maybe recharge health and such. We have places where your health is actually mental fortitude instead. And it can be drained based on overstimulation or a bunch of other things that autistic people find difficult to navigate. And in these quiet spaces, you can actually recharge your health, and it's on a timer and has this super calming music that really simulates being able to take a space, to sort of take your own space and kind of take a breath and recharge. And it's something that kind of models that behavior for educators, counselors, and their students. And I think that that model of behavior and that representation in there for a game is something that I'm really excited to continue showing to our testers, which they've really enjoyed so far. So yeah.
It's hard to pick one thing. I'm excited about it all. We're excited about bringing it to more people. We've been working a lot on things. So when it launches later this fall, we're going to be super excited. We're just excited about how it's evolved. And there's, this is a little bit of a pat on our back. We're excited about the complexity of it. So many times when you talk about diversity, people really think about binaries like privileged or marginalized, or, male, female, black and white. And we really have incorporated some beautiful nuance. Every moment you have both a privileged and marginalized identity. There's a range of sexual identities and gender expressions. And so we're just excited about the game.
Yeah, have the same feeling that I'm excited about many different things, but one of the things that I like about providing this, what we call digital gaming ID, to enable players to jump in a game that is more aligned with their interests, is to reduce or to eliminate some of the triggers of harmful and risks and threats that can happen inside a game. And there was a report last year saying that 65% of players experience severe harassment, 35% of them experience sexual harassment. And I think we should be able to join, games as we are without any kinds of concerns. I have a daughter, and sometimes she's afraid of playing some games because she's a newbie that, could be not welcomed by other players, and that's just not nice, and we're losing opportunity and the games are also sometimes losing money because users are leaving or playing less that the games that are not, embracing players the way they are expecting to. So as a mother, as someone that's like working in this industry, I'm super excited with that possibility and the way we're delivering out our technology. Like in less than 1 second, you can provide, a totally different experience for that player. And that is like mind blowing for me. And that's why I'm so excited about it. I haven't had a chance to say what I'm looking for in the following months, but one of the things that I am looking for is find more early adopters to test this technology and help us to showcase this is possible, this is, amazing, and we can have like solid KPIs embracing and supporting this innovation. So yeah, please connect with us. We're super looking forward to make that change.
That's awesome. Yes, definitely. Everybody, please connect and be an early adopter. Help shape these products to whatever extent is possible.
I think for us, I'm just really excited by, so for me, the Keepies, so the gamification that we have was literally built out of my worst days, because the story behind the Keepies are literally, I would be unable to get out of bed. And I know pretty much all of us have had those really dark days. And it would be, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I literally stumble down the stairs of my family home. And because my family had all left for work or different pursuits, they'd expect me to look after the dogs. And my poor dogs would have like wet themselves, or it was so awful what they would do. But I literally didn't take care of them because I couldn't even take care of myself. And then I learned that by taking care of myself, I could take care of the dogs, and I wouldn't have to clean up all the shit that was everywhere. But it worked out. But it's so incredible to see people seeing that same sense of ownership for their well-being, that they're engaging in these tools, they're tracking all the vitals that impact their mental health, and they're seeing the impact of it on the health reports, and they're engaging in the gratitude diary and the goal setting, just so they can keep taking care of these like they're just these little puppies. And it's so exciting to know that what really was my worst day has just been transformed into something that's so lovely and so wonderful. And I'm so excited for people to see the expansions, to see the future of this. And I don't know, it's so touching. I don't know, I really like it.
It is.
Absolutely. And I just want to remind the audience, we have about another, a little less than 10 minutes for questions. So if you have any, please definitely feel free to ask. So I guess one thing I was hoping to talk about, I've worked a lot in games that have some kind of healthcare component. And one of the key things that funders, or at least on the grant level, and I'm sure just in life and reality in general, are interested in knowing is how does what happened inside of a game translate into real world changes, whether it's behavioral changes or feelings of well-being. And what can you please share some of your thinking around how we make that leap from experiencing something in a game or in-game or in XR, and how that translates into our day-to-day interactions?
One thing that we wanted to incorporate along those very lines of inspiring action in the real world is, in our game, players make decisions and they're able to see the consequences or the benefits of their decisions. And I think giving people that kind of practice, and when you see it in a game, you can then draw some parallels to the outside world. And so we wanted you to feel like you had choice, because that's also incredibly important. I think some people look at societal issues and they think, I have no control over this. And we think that when you understand that you have choice and that your individual actions do have downstream effects for other people's lives, that hopefully we're inspiring change in the real world.
I think building off of that, that's something that we're really trying to do with social emotional learning now. There's not a totally standard and established way to measure or understand social emotional learning at the moment. And there are a bunch of amazing organizations and ventures that are working on that. But yeah, truthfully, I don't think there totally is one yet. And I think that for us, the way that we have done that is, number one, by listening to autistic people and autistic youth and really trying to understand, all right, what are the most important or most daunting or difficult situations that this group of people really needs support for? Which ones would they become more confident through if they just had the space and the practice to be able to do so? And I think especially right now during these conditions, it's really hard to practice that kind of thing and to get supportive feedback. And I think through our game with the way we do it through our branching dialogue choices, we really made a decision to make sure that there's no answer is inherently like right or wrong. They're just answers because in life, that's kind of how it is. It's much more of this kind of spectrum, and it's not really black and white. So I think for us, there are chances and opportunities to, make an okay answer, make something that doesn't really lead to much, or something that actually leads into a much deeper conversation, or even completely mess up. Like, we really allow our players to fail so that they realize that failure isn't the end of the world. It is totally part of life. And so I think that for us, there's ways to fail, but there's also totally ways to make up, and multiple ways to get through a social situation. And I think just exposing them to that idea and helping them realize that there are ways through this is really helpful when they have to face those situations in real life.
I think we have one question from the
Yeah,
audience.
absolutely. So we have a question from Brianna Downey. Thank you so much, Brianna. Do you think more gaming industries should shed light on mental health in their games to teach others who may not understand about it, and to teach people who do have mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety that they're not alone, and it may give them a sense of comfort?
So I'm so passionate about this, but it goes so much further than the gaming industry. Like, this is across all of the media and pop culture industry as a whole. Any touch points with the public should normalize mental health, because I actually often compare this to the LGBT community. I'm part of it, and it's something I'm very proud of. But it's so interesting how you've seen this rise of LGBT culture very slowly. It is still very, very slow in pop culture and media. And that rise has actually been correlated with the rise of Pride attendance and corporate sponsorship of Pride, which I know there's a whole other argument around pinkwashing. But that rise of pop culture, Pride Month, acceptance in the media has all led to a much wider spread of acceptance of LGBT rights, whether it's marriage, whether it's not being fired in the workplace in 2020 just because you're gay. And it's the same with mental health. 1 in 4 of us have a mental illness. Why is that not represented in the media? I have borderline personality disorder. Why don't I have any celebrities I can look up to, or characters that I can aspire to be? Like, where's the badass warrior who happens to have a personality disorder, or the awesome person that I can aspire to be, and imagine and have my imagination piqued just by these people who might also happen to have a mental illness? It doesn't define the character or the individual, but it's a part of a quarter of the world's population. So why isn't it a part of a quarter of the world's media or pop culture representation? Yeah, that's my little stance.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Well, I was just thinking how that could be implemented, because I think from the gaming industry point of view, based on my conversations, they're trying to catch up and learn so many different things. And I think organizations such as Take This, which Eve is the executive director, are doing an amazing job pointing them in the right direction. So I think it's important that those organizations and individuals, professionals kind of come up and kind of help them to shape how this could look like, because for sure, I don't see them as a specialist in that field. So they need for sure support from all these talents and mission-driven individuals to foster more conversations. I saw a couple of initiatives, I don't remember now from each game. They created a line to offer mental health support for their players. So it's slowly coming up, but it's far away from the reality Aimée was describing before. But I think, it's important to start the conversation, right? And here we are doing, the conversation. So that's a little bit what I think.
Well, did anyone else want to add to that? I didn't want to. Okay. All right. Well, we are out of time, which is so sad because I have so many more questions to ask each and every one of you. I think what you're doing is amazing work. And I'm inspired by everything that I've heard so far in this discussion and from what I know about what you're building and all of your work in general. So I'm really grateful to have been part of this discussion. I want to thank the audience for being part of this roundtable as well, and for your questions and your comments. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the festival. And really, I look forward to seeing you all in person one of these days, someday soon, I hope. Thank you, everybody. It was awesome.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everybody.
much.
Take care, everybody.